I think it's a blessing and a curse for a passive investor that you don't have control, right? You don't have a say in how the property goes. Like you're not the
Yep.
one that says, "Hey, I think you need to renovate 10 units this month instead of 5." No, that's the professionals. They handle that and they execute on their plan. But it's also a blessing because I don't have to make any of those decisions, right? Like
Yeah,
my brain power is freed up, my time is freed up, and I can just make my money work hard instead of having to use all my
absolutely.
skills and muscles and time too.
Welcome to the Threefold Real Estate Investing Podcast. This is the podcast where you'll not only learn how you can achieve massive success in multifamily real estate investing, but also how you can simultaneously pursue great relationships with your family and a better walk with God. You can achieve financial freedom through real estate investing without sacrificing the relationships that mean the most to you. Now, here's your host, Lee Yoder.
Welcome back, Threefold community. Hope you're having a great week. We've got another great episode today with a great guest. Camilla Jeffs is joining us from North Dallas. I want to read just a little bit about her and then we'll bring her in. She's the founder and CEO of Steady Stream Investments, a company focused on providing investment opportunities in large multifamily and senior housing communities. With 18 years of experience investing in real estate, she's done everything from live and flips, single family rentals, small multifamily, and now large multifamily and assisted living. She specializes in teaching the first-time investor how to achieve passive income and diversify their portfolio. We love that. So anxious to get into that. Camilla believes in the investing trifecta, where one can achieve not only strong financial returns, but create social and environmental impact by providing safe, clean, and affordable housing to entire communities. Camilla's a triathlete, an outdoor enthusiast, and devoted mother to her 5 amazing children. Camilla, I love it. Thanks for joining us. Anxious to jump in and talk with you today.
Thanks, Lee. I'm really excited to be here.
Let's go all the way back, Camilla. I love to start where people got started. So you started in real estate. You've got 18 years of experience. So can you take us all the way back 18 years ago? What were you doing at the time and what got you interested in real estate in the first place?
Yeah. So I was 22 and I was married and working on my bachelor's degree. So we were really young. We were married and I had no money. Right?
Sure.
So we were living in this garage apartment at the time because that's all we could afford. And I was talking to the landlady, and she happened to be someone who owned several rentals, and I knew she would go around and collect rent on certain days. So I just kind of asked her, just curiosity question, and said, how'd you do this? Right? How did you get so many properties? And so we had a conversation about that. And then I was like, okay. And she said, well, you know what you should do is you should buy a house. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. No. Don't you see, we can barely afford your nasty garage apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think we can buy a house? And she was a realtor. So I thought she had ulterior motives and, things like
Sure.
that. But then after she said, no, listen, you can buy a house where you can rent out. You can buy one that has a basement apartment in it and you can rent that out. And then that way your mortgage would be really low and you'd be able to live there and it would be great. And she kind of blew my mind, and it took me a little bit to really catch on to the idea. And she said, there's all sorts of first time home buyer programs that you can get into. So it wouldn't cost very much money to even buy a house. And then if someone else is helping pay the mortgage, like how can that not be, a good thing? And I said, well, yeah, you're probably right. So that's exactly what we did. We bought our first house, and it was a giant house for us. It was a 6-bedroom home with 2 kitchens, and we lived on the top, rented out the basement. And we ended up only paying like $150 a month to live there.
Awesome.
And the house had a pool in the backyard. Like, how awesome was that? You go from living in
that's an upgrade from the
garage to a pool house. It was pretty awesome. And that's what really got me going in real estate. And I was like, yeah, I really need to figure out real estate because this is going to be a fantastic path for us.
Yeah. What a blessing for you to have that landlord. But for you to ask the question too. And just to have your eyes open, I felt the same way. For me and for so many others, it was kind of just reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad and just having my eyes open to, wow, there's this whole, the way I explain it, I felt like there's a whole nother game that other people are playing that I didn't even know about. Because to me, everybody plays the same game. It's get a job and do really well and try to play that game better than others, or just play it well, which means climbing the corporate ladder, making more money and saving, saving more than you spend, or spending less than you make, whatever. And so you can save some money and just play that game well. And then you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, or you talk to somebody like that owns rentals, and you realize there's a completely different game. Maybe jump ahead. I mean, you don't have to take us through everything, but you saw the power of it. I mean, I think that's the key. You obviously, you weren't even really making money per se. It didn't increase but you're saving a lot more money because your rent on this giant, awesome house with a pool is only $150. So you're probably able to save a little bit more, improve your lifestyle, all these like great things, but it's not blowing your socks off. But at the same time, it opened your mind. So you're probably now, wow, what else could be possible? Holy smokes. If I can do this and I didn't even know about this, what else is possible? So maybe jump us forward a couple steps.
Yeah. I mean, so you made a good point, right? So we weren't making money in real estate per se. Like there was no cash flow coming in for this property, right? So it's still an investment, but it's not a cash flowing investment. So then I was like, maybe we could do something a little bit different. Let's see what else we can do in real estate. And that's actually when I did get my hands on Rich Dad Poor Dad and read that. And it was fun conversation. Well, I handed it to my dad and he handed it to my brother. And so they both read it and they're having this conversation about it and saying, wow, a house is a liability. That's really interesting. And then they look at me and they're like, oh, but not you, Camilla, because you're doing things different. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So then we thought, okay, what can we do this next? So we still have this challenge of not very much money, right? Mm-hmm. We're still in college, still trying to make ends meet, working part-time jobs. And so we thought, well, the next thing that we could do is probably buy another house that we move into, because again, you don't have to have a really big down payment and the interest rates are going to be really easy, simple and easy. Yep. And we were kind of itching to try a project house. And so we bought a fixer-upper and we moved in and we spent the next 2 years fixing that property and like ourselves. So we taught ourselves all these skills. Like I learned to tile. My husband learned how to do plumbing and all these things. And we fixed that house up. And then we moved out and we rented it. So now we had a cash flowing asset. And that was super cool. And we thought, this is a pretty cool strategy. It's fairly simple. It's something that anybody can do, absolutely. Right? You can absolutely just buy your own home, move in and fix stuff up and then move out. If you're not handy, okay, don't be handy. Hire a contractor or hire your best friend to come do stuff. Like it's not that difficult of a strategy to do. So I call it the live-in flip strategy because you live in it. And then you flip it either by selling or renting. And so that's what we did for the next 10, 15 years. Awesome. About every 2 years, we would buy. Now we do 2 years on purpose because there's a tax rule that says if you lived in the property 2 of the last 5 years, you can sell it for no capital gains tax.
Amazing. Yeah.
So you combine that with, you live there for 2 years, fix it, move out for 3, rent it. So you have cash flow for those 3 years and then sell it at year 5 and you pay no tax on those gains. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you sell that 6-bedroom too before you moved into the live and flip?
No, we kept it. Actually, we kept it. Yeah, we kept it and we rented. So it was like a duplex, right?
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. No, I think, especially younger people without kids, if anybody, reached out to me and like, hey, how should I get started? I mean, for me, it's live and flip or house hacking, whatever the term, like, why would you not do that? You have to do that. And I didn't know about it then. And my wife and I rented and I'm like, why didn't we just, because we've actually both loved doing that stuff. So I mean, if we could go back 100%, we would not have rented an apartment. We would have bought, a junk house and fixed it up while we lived there. Yeah. And so you're creating equity, you're forcing appreciation through, fixing it up. You get to live there, then if you rent it out or even if you sell it, I mean, to pay no tax, it's just, it's everybody should do it. So awesome strategy. So you just did that while this. So that's just kind of supplementing your income in a way, to live. And then you've got some rentals too. So kind of building that up. And also, like you said, building up a bunch of experience, seeing the power of it. Can you tell us a little bit about your transition? Why aren't you still just doing that? What made you transition into, you kind of did some small multifamily and then maybe even your transition into bigger multifamily?
Yeah. So, I mean, we tried our hand at small multis too, and we liked that. We liked that. We liked that it was a little bit more economies of scale.
Yeah,
But really, after like 15 years of doing that, we kind of hit burnout, hit this
sure.
point because we were using all of our own money, all of our own skills, all of our own time and efforts. And by that time, we had 5 children. And
That
so we
changes
had
things.
these 5 children, all under the age of 8. And I'm like, wow, this is kind of a lot. So we're thinking through, we still believe in real estate. So we kind of we'd hit this ceiling, right? We didn't have more time. We didn't have more money. And we just couldn't put more into the business. At least we felt like we couldn't. And it's probably a limiting belief. But it just felt like a lot. And
Yeah.
so I took a step back and we're trying to think through, well, what's the right way to do things here? And I'd always had buy an apartment complex on my vision board because I thought, if we could just hit that, if we could buy an apartment complex, we'd be set for life, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I was thought. And I always looking like at 20 units or 40 units or something like that. And thought, these cost millions of dollars. We'd never buy anything over, I think the biggest one we did was 400,000 at the time.
Mhm.
And so I'm like, okay, this is a completely different like mindset. Like I'm talking in millions of dollars, and take a peek at the bank account. Nope, not $1 million in the bank account. So
Right.
how in the world are you supposed to buy an apartment complex? This seems just way out of reach. I was like, no, there's got to be a way to figure this out. So I started just diving into, I'm a book junkie. I love to read business books and investing books and,
Yeah. That
self-help,
helps.
personal improvement books, like all
Yep.
those books. I love them. So I was reading a bunch of books and then started listening to podcasts too, and realized, oh, apartment investing is not something you really do on your own. Like very few people will buy an apartment complex themselves. It's actually a group of people who buy it all
Yep.
together. Some people put their money in, some people use their time, some people have their expertise, and we just pool all of our money and resources together, buy an apartment complex, and then we all share in the returns.
Yep.
And that was mind blowing to me. It was mind blowing to me. But also it was kind of a barrier for me too, because up until this point, remember we'd been doing it all ourselves. And
Yeah.
so
Yep.
it's a mindset shift that you have to go through of this DIY mentality, like, oh, well, I can just do it, to, okay, now I need to trust other people to do what they say they're going to do. And it's a little bit, anxiety inducing at first. And the first thing we did was actually invested passively into one of
There
these
you go.
group
Yeah.
investments. And it was nerve wracking, right? Because $50,000 is not a small sum of money when it's just for your first time doing it. And you're thinking, well, I really hope this goes well. Like, these
Wow.
people
Yeah.
gonna, do it right. And you have, I think it's a blessing and a curse for a passive investor that you don't have control, right? You don't have a say in how the property goes. Like, you're not the
Yep.
one that says, hey, I think you need to renovate 10 units this month instead of 5. No, that's the professionals. They handle that and they execute on their plan. But it's also a blessing because I don't have to make any of those decisions, right? Like
Yeah.
my brain power is freed up, my time is freed up, and I can just make my money work hard instead of having to use all my
Absolutely.
skills and muscles and time too.
Yeah. Because you were kind of burned out on that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I can imagine it would be hard for you and your husband, Camilla, because for 15 years you'd been so active and in control. But you got into that one. Tell us just kind of a little bit how that went, and then how you've kind of progressed in your multifamily investing journey, the bigger
Yeah.
stuff.
So got into that passive investment. And, after the initial anxiety of it, I fell in love with the concept. I thought, this is amazing because I'm looking at the projected returns. I'm looking at the amount of effort and time. And frankly, the returns that I get on that passive investment are higher than some of the returns I got on some of my single
Wow.
families.
Yeah.
And I have to put no time into it or effort, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I just fell in love with. I thought, man, I know for a fact there are thousands of other landlords just like me out there, just, grinding in the business day in, day out for $100 in cash flow a month. and,
Yep.
and there's a
Oh,
better
yeah.
way, right? There's just a completely better way. So I got excited about that. And so then I launched Steady Stream Investments, which is my company now. And I just said, Steady Stream Investments is going to be an education first company. We're going to focus on educating passive investors how to get involved in these types of projects. And we're especially going to focus on first time passive investors. So we're going to take this complex topic because it was complex at first. I mean, heck, I've been investing for 15 years.
Yes.
And then I see this new way of investing and I'm like, what's IRR? I have no idea what that means.
Oh,
Equity
yeah.
multiple?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Like there's just completely different metrics and the way they think about things and the way they invest. It's more like a business than a hobby. And that's kind of what I felt like I had been in. It was a hobby type mentality. And now I'm going into business, like real on, full on this. We're running these with proper financials instead of just, is there any money in the bank to fix the water heater? No. Okay. Well,
Right.
like,
it's
right?
a side hustle. You're right. It's totally different. That can be a side. It's great. It can be a great side hustle, but you wanted to elevate more to a business and kind of go all in on that. So yeah, maybe this is a good time to jump in, Camilla. How do you educate your passive investors? It's great that you've been a passive investor. You've had that experience. You've been on both sides, but you know what it's like to be a passive investor. How do you go about educating passive investors? And like you said, you target first-time investors, so they haven't invested in an apartment building before. It is complicated. It does sound scary. It's something probably most people don't know someone who's done that. So how do you go about that? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So the first thing I did was I created a video course and I named it Passive Investing Made Easy because I really wanted to just simplify those concepts so that the average person could understand what it's like. I never use the term syndication because when I first heard the term syndication, I've been an investor for a long, long time, never heard that word before. And I felt stupid. And I was like, I don't want people to feel stupid. I want them to feel like, because syndication is just a fancy word for group investment. And so that's the way I talk about it, is that this is a group investment. So I created this video course and it's just like 5 different little videos and it walks you through the process from A to B, including I also include in there like a 10-year plan, right? If you were to do this every single year for 10 years, here's where you would be in 10 years. So just to really map it out so people understand. So then from there, I do a lot of writing. I love to write. And so I have, I'll educate on social media, but I also have a website with lots of blog posts on it with all sorts of information. I hold live webinars twice a month so that people can join in and listen and learn and ask questions. And so I'm there to answer questions live, and they're just short ones. They're like 20 minutes webinars and then 10-minute Q&A, and then we're done. So it's just bite-sized information that comes out.
Oh, that's great. I love that. How's that going? Tell us a little bit about the feedback and then like what's come of it. Are you taking kind of the community? Are you guys investing together or just tell us a little bit more about how that's going with Steady Stream Investments.
Yeah. So the second part of Steady Stream Investments is going out and vetting markets, vetting sponsor teams, which are the real estate professionals running the projects, and then also vetting deals. And so I take that on as an experienced investor, and I'll go out and I will do all the vetting. And then once a deal, and team and market passes my strict criteria, at that point, I will pass it on and I will offer it as an opportunity for people for passive investors to come and try out the investment opportunity. And it's been going really well. It's really fun it's so fun for me to get on a call with a passive investor because I do a one-on-one call with every single person just to make sure that they fully understand the concept. I can answer any questions. And it's just really fun to talk to them, especially the ones who are like, minds are blown or like, okay, I'm ready to try this. I'm ready to go after this. And they just need a little bit of hand holding to understand the process and to, get through the PPM, which is the like gigantic legal document. They've never read a legal document like that before. That can be intimidating.
Yes.
But my job is to walk them through it every step of the way so that they can feel confident in investing.
Yeah. Well, that. And so who would you say is your target audience? Or, if people are listening to this and they're thinking, maybe I'm that first time investor, maybe I should be doing this. Who is that person or those people? Maybe it's a bunch of people. Maybe it's everybody who should think about, joining Steady Stream Investments and being a passive investor in multifamily.
Yeah, well, definitely. If you've had some type of experience investing in real estate, so say you've done a couple of rentals here or there, a lot of my investors I talk to have already dabbled in it a little bit and done a few rentals here and there. Others have done well in the stock market and are career people, but mostly I help a lot of families. I find that families I'm attracted to families, or they're attracted to me because I have a big family and we kind of invest as a family together too. And so there's a lot of great synergy there. So, for people who have dabbled in real estate and they are, ready to try something different, try something new that can actually be a lot more powerful than, driving with your kids to the rental every weekend to clean up the trash. That's great experience for the kids too. Don't get me wrong. Like I don't mind putting my kids to work. They know how to work, but really, if you're looking for that time freedom, so you can spend more time with your family, it was really critical for me too, because as my kids got older, they're all teenagers now. The teenage years feel like they're going by way too fast, and the kids are going to be gone so fast. And I'm facing, like almost all of them out of the house within the next 3 years. And it's crucial to me to have my time freedom so that I can do as much with them while they're here with me before they're just gone.
Yeah. Yeah. And you kind of said it earlier, Camilla, where you wanted now to put your money to work for you when you were transitioning from being very active and in the small stuff, and you were interested in putting your money to work for you, not investing just all time, not just trading time. Because the more active you are, you're still kind of trading time for money, and it's much more powerful if you're in real estate than maybe just a W-2, but still, you're still trading time. But when you're truly passive, you really aren't. I mean, your investors, those that kind of partner with you through Steady Stream, they're trading the amount of time that they spend talking to you and maybe kind of looking through the PPM, but it's a very, very small time commitment. Instead, they're using their hard-earned savings or maybe through a 401k, an IRA, they're using that. They're putting their money to work for them, which is a big concept. And, Rich Dad, Poor Dad and others like that. So I love that. A couple of things about you. You call yourself the introverted investor and say that our personalities don't shrink our goals. They gift us a different path toward them. Dig into that for me a little bit. How has being an introvert aided you? And maybe that helps others relate to you too. Other introverts that have just been too scared to get out and talk to people, about multifamily and learn. How has that helped you and helped others?
Yeah. So when I first started, I decided I was ready to pivot to do large multifamily, and it was group investing. I was simultaneously excited and terrified, right? Because I thought, I have to go talk to people. I have to build relationships, and build more professional relationships. And that was terrifying at first, and I think, as an introvert, you get terrified about doing those things, but then, if you practice, you can get good at it, right? It's not something that you always have to be terrified of, attending a meetup or a conference or something. But I mean, there's always some kind of, fear when I go to attend conferences. And as an introvert, I think that passive investing is actually the perfect investment for an introvert, because there's other qualities of introverts, rather than just, not talking to a lot of people all the time. But we love research, and we're very thoughtful, and we like to dive into things, and we could go down rabbit holes all the time and be all, do this excitement about the market and really understand things and, dive into the numbers and introverts. It's a perfect investment for them because that's all you have to do, right? You can just sit in the comfort of your home and do all your research on your computer, and then have one phone call with me. and you're good, right?
Yeah.
And then you can invest, and you can have access to these powerful investments, right? Large, like 250 units of multifamily that you never could have had access to before, because there's just lots of barriers to it. But I think so for me, now that I'm on the active side as well as passive, um, so, I can speak to other introverts who want to be active. So if you want to be active, as an introvert, you totally can be, right? You don't have to think of your introvertedness as a something that will hold you back. You just have to navigate which piece of the process, or which part of the partnership will be best for me. Most introverts will choose the underwriting, which is the financial analysis piece, because that's just burying your head in spreadsheets all day. You don't have to call brokers. You don't have to talk to investors. You don't have to, work with the property management companies. You can just simply do your spreadsheet thing. And that's
let
fantastic.
the other people on your team do those things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. For me, I have an education heart, and I love to educate other people. But I can do that in a very quiet way, like writing, and it took me a while to start making videos. It took me a while to start being a guest on a podcast. But again, just practicing those skills, it helps you to get better at them.
That's great. The fact that you're a female in a male dominated career, or how has that been difficult? Or does that maybe that gives you an upper hand? What would you say about that?
It definitely gives me motivation. That's what I'll say. Right. Yeah. It gives me a ton of motivation, because there are not many women who are in the syndication space who are actively participating in it. And so I find it, I love to blaze trails. Like I want to create a path for others to follow. Yeah. And often it's often difficult to go down a path that you haven't seen other people go down. And so when I started out and decided that, yes, I want to do this, and then realized that, almost every conference I went to, there was not one woman on the stage. And I thought, am I trying to go down the wrong path? Like, why is it that very few women do this? And I had to look really hard. But I finally found a couple of women who were active syndicators. Yeah. And so I just started following them and eating up any material that they put out, and, listening to them on podcasts and hearing them. And from there, it's kind of spider webbed, and I started finding more and more and more women. And so now I feel like it's one of my callings in life is to help other women get into this space. Right. And the first step, I always tell them, first step, you invest passively yourself, because you have to have that experience. You need to understand, you need to learn from the groups that are doing this about how to communicate with investors. Like, you've got to do that. And then step 2 is just learning from other people like you that are just a couple steps ahead of you. And that's what I feel like. I'm a couple steps ahead of a lot of people. And so if you just kind of follow in my footsteps, I tell people all the time, just copy my material. Like, don't like copy and paste it, but learn from it, and you'll rewrite it in your own words and put it out. You don't have to come up with your own ideas. Let me do that for you. And that's actually leading to a product that I'm creating that's like done for you newsletters and a passive investor onboarding course that, other syndicators can just grab and use and to help really educate. Because we have, as a syndicator, you're talking to people about investing passively, everybody's interested in real estate. Like, I want to invest in real estate. But what % of the people actually invest? And so that's what I'm trying to help bridge that gap, because a lot of the reason that there's that gap is lack of education. They just don't understand it fully. They've got to be able to understand it. And so you've got to get them 80% of the way there through education. And then the final 20% is their relationship with you. I agree. And so that's what another thing that I'm working on.
That's awesome. No, I love that. How have you included your family in investing? You kind of mentioned that before, but let's transition to that a little bit. How's this been a family affair for you? How's real estate investing been good or bad for your family? Tell us a little about that.
Yeah. So with the kids, one of the things we did early on was we tried to involve them as much as possible. I didn't want to be that parent that just, always got the babysitter and left and did something and came back and the kids like had no clue what mom and dad does for a
Yeah.
living.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
So instead, we drug them along, to our investment properties. They started learning the skills. They would come and, when they were little, they weren't super helpful, but they were still there
Right. Right.
and, just doing their thing, running around while we cleaned an apartment or something. But once they hit teenage years, we were doing another live-in flip. And this one was in Arizona. And it actually happened right as COVID struck. So we bought the property in, I think, November, and then COVID struck April of the next year.
Yep.
So we had started the renovations, but now suddenly all 5 kids are home with us for the unforeseeable future. We cannot leave our house, because we were in one of those areas that they really strict lockdown.
Okay.
And so only I could go out to go grocery shopping like once a week, and so literally in the house, and we're all, after the initial shock of it all, because of course we all had this big shock of what is the world going to, and it was very upsetting for all of us.
Yes.
After that initial shock, we're like, well, we have this whole house to renovate. So I guess we're just going to get to it. And it turned out to be a blessing in disguise that COVID locked it down. And so now everybody could work hard on the house. They still had to do like online school, but in between that, we just spent, they didn't have activities to go to. They didn't have friends' houses to go play at. And so we had something for them to do. And we completely renovated that house inside and out. So because the kids worked so hard at that property, we decided to sell that one because we did really well. We made a lot of money on it. So we did a couple of things. So one thing is we use an income shifting strategy. It's an advanced tax strategy. So if you have kids, you can invest in real estate and you can pay them to work in your business and it shifts the income to them, no taxes. So we did this income shifting strategy to the kids. But we told them, we said, okay, kids, you worked hard, you earned this money. 10% of it you can use to buy something fun for yourself, right? That just goes in your account. You can buy something fun. The other 90%, 10% for fun, 10% to donate, because we all believe in giving. And then the other 80% will be for the next investment. And we didn't know what that was going to be yet. Right. And so we just kind of held that in there, and we actually put it in their accounts so they could see, the big amount of money in their accounts. Like, whoa, yeah, I'm rich.
Yeah.
And, but then about a year later, we found a vacation rental and we purchased a vacation rental. And everybody participated. So the kids all
so cool.
Put their money into this
That's
property.
Awesome.
And now each kid is a owner in the property, right? So the kids own 49% and mom and dad own 51% of the property. And now they are, as we speak, we're headed up this week to go and install bunks, and we're building bunk room, and we're building out all these things to make the vacation rental more valuable. Yeah. We're talking to the kids all the time about how we can increase the income, but now they are going to start earning passive income from their active real estate investing income that they did. And so we're taking them through the progression, and they're excited. In fact, it was really funny. One of my 16-year-olds, she's like, yeah, someone asked me the other day if I had a job, and I said no. And they're like, well, how are you getting money? And she's like, I own real estate. Can you imagine at 16? You're like, what are you talking about?
You don't own anything. That's awesome. Yeah, no, that is so, I love that you got, that's like right up my wife and I's alley of like exactly what we want to do. Our kids are 6 and 8. So yeah, we're just like maybe, a step or two behind you and your husband. And we had some of those same experiences with we did a couple flips when our kids were young, and they were, not only not helpful, but a danger in and to themselves, walking around, right. My son was 2,
their hammer,
our first one. And my wife would try to bring him out and get involved, and then, leave so frustrated after he shocked himself from an outlet and, banging on the paint cans with a hammer and stuff like that. So dropping his lunch in a bucket of, drywall, mud, water, and all that. So good stuff. Along those, I saw something I had to ask you about. Can you tell us about your Disney farm?
My Disney
what is that?
farm. Yes. So we live in North Dallas and out in the country. And whenever we get an animal, the animal has to be named after a Disney sidekick. So we have
Okay.
that's our Disney
Do you
farm
have a little
because
mini
all of
farm?
our yeah, just we just have a flock of chickens and
Yep.
and a dog, and we'll get more animals as we we've only lived here about a year,
Yep.
but
Oh, I
yeah,
love
it's
that.
fun
That's
because we
fun.
have Turk is our dog that's from Tarzan, and then
Yep.
we have Timon and Pumbaa, and those are our ducks. And all the names. And so, because
That's
I'm a
fun.
big fan of Disney movies,
Yeah.
and the Disney sidekicks are my favorite because they're the funny
They
characters
usually
in the
are.
show.
Yeah. Wait, Camille, this has been awesome. I want to kind of wrap up. I always like to ask, what would you say is the key ingredient? You've kind of hit on it, but key ingredient to being a successful real estate investor?
The key ingredient is education plus action, I
Yeah.
think, right? So
Yep.
it can definitely fit any lifestyle. I mean, if you are looking for extra cash flow, it can give you cash flow. If you just want to juice up your retirement funds, you can absolutely do that with passive investing. It's just so powerful. It helps you diversify, protects your risk, and things like that. But
Yep.
education is critical. And I never want anyone to invest with me just because they think I'm cool or something,
Yeah.
right? That's not being responsible. And so the responsible thing is to educate yourself fully, and then you have to take action, because I know it's one thing to educate yourself, but if you never take that action,
Yeah.
it's not going to do you any good.
Yep.
Right. And so I mean, I'm a big believer in education, but you absolutely have to combine that with action in order to get the results that you want.
Yeah. You've got to jump at some point. And a little twist on that question. So what's a key ingredient to, while you're being successful in real estate investing, how can you maintain your priorities and be a successful wife, mother? Faith is important to you, a Christ follower. How do you maintain your priorities while having success in real estate?
So I always tell people that you are ultimately you are in control of your day, of your
Yep.
time, and of what you do, right? Like, I hate the phrase, "Oh, I didn't have time." You did have time. You just chose to spend it elsewhere, right?
Yep.
And so if you just come back to extreme ownership of your time, it's actually not that hard to prioritize and to do things, and to maintain a more, I don't really believe in balance, but a more intentional lifestyle.
Sure. Yeah.
Where, for me, that means I intend to be done at 4 p.m. when my kids get home from school, so that then I can transition to taking them to their activities, helping them with their homework, and then we do dinner, and then we continue the activities into the night because we have lots of kids.
Uh-huh.
And
Oh, yeah.
and then I also have the opportunity to serve in my church and lead the youth group in my church, because I
Awesome.
I can
Yeah.
be intentional about my time. I don't work in my business on Sundays. Like, it's just that's time I'm taking to be with my family. We play games together, we attend church together, and we take a
You
nap,
take a
right?
Sabbath.
Like, it's a day of
Yep.
rest.
Practice
And
Sabbath.
so
Yeah.
it's just you can build, and it's not that I have small goals. That's the 100% the opposite. I have really massive goals for my business this year. I want to double my business and double the amount of investors that I helped last year this year.
Awesome. Yeah.
Does that mean I have to double the amount of time I put into my business? No, I just have to learn smarter ways to
Yep.
work, and I think that's also key.
Love that. That's awesome. Camilla, you said you're a big reader. What's maybe a good book recommendation? Maybe again, that first time investor, somebody that's interested says, "Hey, this sounds pretty good, Camilla. I want to go ahead and educate myself," because you said that's important. Where should they start? What's a good book recommendation or two?
Yeah, so I think mindset is actually the place to start, and so
Okay,
I
sure.
would really love for you to read Who, Not How,
Yep. Love that one.
because that one was mind blowing to me, and I was stuck in the how for a really long time, and it wasn't until I transitioned to understanding, oh, I need who's to help me achieve my goal.
Yeah.
So the premise of the book is, you set a massive goal, and immediately your brain starts thinking about how you're going to achieve that goal.
Yep.
And if your brain's anything like my brain, if it's a really big goal, it's going to shut down on me, because it can't compute. It cannot compute how to get from A to Z. And because it feels so far away. And so then my brain shuts down and says, nope, too hard, right? But the premise of the book says, set your massive goal and then go find the other people who can help you achieve the goal. And the whole irony of the book is that, it was written by an author, and now it's escaping my name.
Dan Sullivan,
right? But he did not write the book. He got
Good
someone
point.
else to write the book for him.
Right.
But yet he's profiting off the book, and he's the author. His name is on there, right? So you can absolutely find other people to help you. And so as a passive investor, that's what you have to realize, right? Like, I want to invest in real estate. Great. Find some who's to help you invest in real estate, whether that be like, if you are just bent on being an active investor, awesome, go for it. Find who's to help you with that. Right. But if you think that any of that sounds a little bit overwhelming or crazy, you just come find the groups that are doing big group investments, join in one of those, and you're going to be so happy with your choice.
Absolutely. Love that. If people want to find out more about you, Camilla, I've got here CamillaJeffs.com and then the SteadyStreamInvestments.com. Great. Yeah. Okay. We'll put all those. We definitely want to send people to you. I love the content you put out. I love the heart behind, Steady Stream Investments and what you're doing. I also love personally that you're doing it with your family and things like that. We can really relate to that. So that's awesome, Camilla. I'd be happy to try to send more people your way. But hey, before we let you go, I always like to ask, how might my listeners be praying for you in the coming weeks? Maybe you and your family or whatever you got going on.
Oh yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah. So, we've got, our family, there's all sorts of things going on with our family.
I'm sure. I'm sure
our kids are needing, or at the point, our twin daughters are at the point where they are trying to make big decisions about their future. And so that would be helpful.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. I don't want to think about it. My daughter's 8. I'm not even going to think about making those big decisions, but absolutely. Yeah, we'll definitely pray alongside you guys for that. Thanks so much for joining us again, Camilla. Thanks for all the information. Thanks for all that you do. We'd love to send people your way, and have a blessed day.
Thanks so much, Lee.
Thank you for joining us for another great episode. I hope you'll take action on what you've learned today. If you enjoyed today's show, please consider leaving Lee a 5-star rating and review. And check him out on threefoldrei.com. Until next time, 1 Timothy 6:17.